And welcome back to Unfiltered Sports Weekly. I'm the Beeb,
I'm St. Joe.
and we are one person. We're -1 tonight, aren't we, St. Joe?
We're one short. The Keb is not feeling the greatest today.
And we really hope that Kev gets his rest. So, in order for us to help him do that, here's what I'm going to do. Okay, you ready for this?
Yeah.
I am going to read the Florida Gators football schedule for 2024, and you're going to tell me how many losses they're going to have next season.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And you can say win or loss after I name each one. Okay.
Got it.
Okay. So at home, August 31st versus Miami.
Ooh, I think that's a loss.
Did I lose you, St. Joe? Are you still here?
No, I'm here.
Okay. So win or loss, Miami against Miami at home.
Loss.
Not going to tell me, huh?
I think it's a loss.
You think they're going to lose to Miami?
Yeah, I think they're going to lose to Miami.
Okay. At home to Samford, not Stanford. Samford.
I think they'll win against Samford.
Okay. September 14th at home against Texas A&M.
Ooh, Texas A&M.
New coach, Texas A&M. I don't even know who they hired.
They're at home though. I'll give them a win. They're at home.
Okay. Starting the season off 2-1.
Yeah.
At Mississippi State, September 21st. Starkville.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a
tough game. Loss.
Okay. Now this is an interesting game. This could be a good one. Okay. This is at home against UCF on October 5th.
University of Central Florida.
Who have been okay. I mean, they've been okay.
Yeah, they've been a I'll call them a mid-level team.
They played with Alabama last year. Or wait, was that USF?
Yeah. Boy, that's going to be a good game. And that's close enough that people will travel for that one. So even though it's a home game,
yeah,
there'll be the Orlando people will be there, but I'll give them a win because they're at home. So I'll say win.
Starting the season 3-2.
3-2.
Now here's where they go down the top stretch. Okay. October 12th at Tennessee.
Loss.
Okay. October 19th, home against Kentucky.
I mean, Kentucky is another one they always seem to lose to Kentucky. So I'll say loss. So now we're 3-4.
I'm gonna say I think that's 3-4. I'm gonna say they win that game against Kentucky because at home. But it'll be a knockout. It'll be a fight.
Yeah.
Okay. Then they have Georgia.
Loss.
Yeah. So that's 5. That's 3. What?
3-5.
3-5. Okay. Well, here's the next game. At Texas in Austin, November 9th.
Loss. 3-6.
The next game is at home against LSU, November 16th.
Oh, God. 3-7.
Okay. The next game is at home against Ole Miss, November 23rd.
It's at the Swamp.
It's at the Swamp.
I'll give them the split. So let's go 4 and we're 4-7.
So 4-6, right?
4-6. Okay.
I think that's 4-6.
Okay.
And then at Florida State, November 30th.
I mean, Florida State, who knows again that game? Florida State lost a ton of people. So
they did, but then they signed everybody that came over from Alabama.
Yeah. So I guess I'll have to give them a loss. So we got 4 wins.
4-7.
Yeah. 4-7.
I'd say Billy Napier gets fired just before the Georgia game or just after it.
It's not going to be good. It's going to be a tough season for Florida.
He might get fired after the Tennessee game, depending on how that game goes. But if they lose against UCF at home, forget it. They're done. He's done. He's gone.
Yeah, it's going to be a long season for Florida.
Boy, that is just a scary.
Now they could have a couple games in there where, there could be a couple close ones where they maybe could sneak one, you know?
I mean, and this is where we kind of missed the Kev because he would give us the insight of their recruits, but they lost their best player, right?
Yeah.
And but they are keeping the quarterback, so maybe there's some, maybe there's some hope there.
Boy,
I
and
just,
ETN with the Florida Georgia game, and he goes
oh,
all over him
geez.
and comes back and runs. Oh God, that's going to be such a terrible
It's
game
gonna be a
against
dumpster
them.
fire.
Oh
But
gosh,
Kev, we love you. We hope they do better than we just said, but I don't know if they will,
no, I think
unfortunately.
it's going to be a hard road to hoe for the
Yeah,
Gators next year.
yeah. I will say over the weekend they played decent basketball, if I remember the scores correctly.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
basketball is interesting. There's a lot of things that are coming up for March Madness. It's going to be very, very interesting tournament that's coming up.
Now let's
And
see. Let's see where they're at right now. I'm looking at their standings.
I think they're in the top 10.
I think. Let's see. We're looking southeastern. They're in the middle of the pack. They're 18-7 in the middle of the pack of the SEC.
Yep.
I think they're definitely going to be in the tournament
Oh
with the
yeah,
way they're playing
they're
right now.
tournament for sure.
Their next game is against Alabama, who is leading the SEC,
Yeah.
but they have the same record as Florida.
Yeah. I
So
think they're probably going to be, let's see, I bet you they're probably around a 4 or 5 seed.
yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep.
I mean, it could dip into 6 or 7, I suppose, but
Yeah.
I do see a 4 or 5 seed, assuming they, win a few games in their conference tournament here at the end of the season too. So I see them playing pretty good. But speaking of basketball,
Yeah.
I would like to turn our attention to maybe the worst sports spectacle known to mankind in this day and age.
Yes.
You know what
I
I'm
know
talking
exactly
about?
what I do. You're talking about 2 days ago, the NBA All-Star game.
St. Joe, how the mighty have fallen.
Oh, it's atrocity. There's so that weekend in general is
They just
just horrible.
they should just do what football does. You know what I mean? At this juncture, just just have them play a football game or a flag football game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just
Well,
have them play a flag football game
so
in
the
Hawaii
skills
or something.
competition versus the skills competition in football is it's gone dramatically downhill, and it's just, I don't even know why they do some of the things that they do anymore. Um, it's funny that you said that. So, let's the 3-point competition, right? I mean, the whole thing of been Steph Curry against the
Right, but that wasn't even a competition. That
no,
wasn't even part of the actual competition. It was just something on the side that they hyped
yeah,
up. You know what I mean? If
yeah,
they really wanted to see what she could do, put her in the competition.
yeah.
You know what I
It
mean? Like
was,
she might win it. She's a
it
really good
was,
shooter. You
she
know what I mean?
was, but I mean, I would have rather have seen them brought out Caitlin Clark and had her be in the competition than that chick because I don't know. I just
Yeah.
think it wasn't.
I mean, if
I
you
just
want to
don't get
do
it.
it, you shouldn't just handpick, right? I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, Steph Curry is the best 3-point shooter that's ever lived, probably.
sure.
But then you have her, who's probably the best female shooter that's ever lived as well, right? Except for we don't know for sure. Caitlin Clark is really going to be a special player, right?
Yeah,
So, but for the time being, she is the best shooter known in WNBA history. So I get it, but why are we doing side bets on the 3 point? Did anybody watch it?
no, I
Did
can't
anybody
imagine that
even care?
anybody. Could you name anybody else that was in the 3-point contest?
I only know the person who won it. That was
I couldn't
Damian.
even tell you.
That was Damian Lillard, and that's the second year in a row he's won it.
Okay, so Damian Lillard, yeah, great,
But
great person.
the only reason that I knew that was because I watched Sports Center the next day,
Yeah,
and they didn't have any other sports on, so they showed the skills competition results,
right, right.
right? Which that was the only skills competition result that they showed.
But yeah, what other skills competition is there?
The dunk contest, which they showed that one too.
Okay, and is
Some
there?
dude I've never heard of won the dunk contest.
He won it 2 years in a row.
Right. Never heard of him. I
Okay,
still don't
so
even know his name.
who's
I watched the highlights and I still don't know the man's name. He
who?
jumped over Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, and who does he play for?
Orlando.
It says he plays for the Osceola Magic.
Oh, well, so he comes from their system, right?
Yeah.
So he
He's
probably was
not
on like
even
a
on the
10-day contract or something like
yeah,
that.
he's in the farm system.
Like the D League.
Yeah.
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 So they allowed him to do it because
And
he won
he
last year,
last year he played for the Sixers
right?
briefly, but he played for the Delaware Bluecoats.
Well,
So
I
he's
wonder.
won 2 years in a row, and he's not even in the league. He's a rising star,
Yeah,
and he's won the slam dunk contest
twice.
twice.
So there was an interesting quote about the dunk contest over the weekend. I can't remember who said it. It might have been oh, what's his face? That the talking head over at ESPN that everybody hates. What's his name?
Stephen A. Smith.
Stephen A. Smith said something about the dunk contest. It might have been true, although I'm not 100% sure. But he said that the dunk contest lost all relevance when LeBron James refused to be part of the dunk contest ever.
Well, I don't know if I don't know if that's necessarily true, but I
I-
don't think the dunk contest has been a dunk contest since the 80s, maybe the
So
90s.
definitely don't have your best players in the dunk contest. Like you might
No.
have your best dunkers in some of the dunk contests. Okay, but your best players are not signing up to be in the dunk. Like, and I
Can
think that was kind of his point. Like, who cares about these other guys?
can you name me the last popular slam dunk contest winner that you remember?
Well, I mean, how popular do you think Zach Levine is?
Well, he won it. When did he win? He won it in
He won
2015 and 2016.
right
He won it twice.
two years in a row, but those dunk competitions were unbelievable. I don't know if you watched them or not, but oh my gosh, I've never seen dunks like that in my life.
So, okay, but that's 2015, 2016.
Right, and
So we're
that's the
going back.
point. That's kind of the point.
Can you name anybody since then that's won it?
Since then,
Yeah.
no, no.
Yeah.
Previously, I would say my favorite dunker previously was Vince Carter in like the year 2000. Okay,
Okay.
so
So I'm looking at it here. So 2022, Obi Toppin.
I know who Obi Toppin is.
Okay.
Yeah, I watched it, but I can't remember what he did to win it.
Before that is Anthony Simmons,
No, don't know him.
Derek Jones Jr.,
Nope, don't know him.
Hamadou Diallo.
Oh, Diallo, dude, that
Yep.
guy. I remember that one because he did some strange dunks that I've never seen before, but I don't
Okay.
care. I don't care. You know
All
what I
right.
mean? It's like one of those things. Like I don't care.
Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, I know
Glenn
Donovan Mitchell.
Robinson the third. I do know Glenn Robinson the third. Then there's Zach Levine,
Now,
John Wall,
I will say this: Donovan Mitchell is one of the best players in the NBA right now.
good player.
But
Yep.
at the time, he was a rookie when he won that.
Terrence Ross,
Don't know who that guy
Jeremy
is.
Evans,
Nope, never heard of him.
Blake Griffin. I know everybody knows Blake
That was
Griffin.
that was kind of an iconic dunk contest. He jumped over the Kia. Remember that one?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
It was a good one. It was a good one. Nate Robinson won it
Those were
twice.
some. He won it against not against Dwight Howard, but those were the
He
years.
did beat Dwight Howard won it the year before, but I
Right.
think he might have beat Dwight Howard in order to win it. So I believe that you're right. Gerald Green. Then there was Nate Robinson again.
Right.
Josh Smith, Fred Jones, Jason Richards.
Jason
Des-
Richardson.
yes, Jason
He was a
Richardson. I'm
two-time
sorry.
winner, right?
He was.
Uh-huh.
Desmond Mason. Now we're getting into people that I
We're
know.
gonna know. Yeah, we're gonna know. Yeah.
Vince Carter.
Yeah.
In
And he might have
2000.
been the best dunker of all time.
He was crazy with the Raptors. He was unbelievable.
Yeah.
There was none in 1998 and 1999 because of the lockout season, and then in 1998 the WNBA two ball competition replaced the dunk competition, which that worked out real well.
Yeah, they still do that. Let me tell you.
Yeah. So now we're looking at 1990s. Let's just look at these players, right? Kobe Bryant
Oh
in
yeah.
1997.
I remember that. I remember that dunk contest well. I
Yep.
still remember it. Iconic.
Sure. Yeah.
He didn't really do anything that special other than he was the first one I think I ever saw in a contest throw the ball up, bounce it off the ground and in the air, go between his legs and and jam it,
Right.
right? That was the first time we saw that.
Brent Barry, Rick Barry's kid.
That dude could fly.
Yeah.
Okay, he could
First
fly.
kind of white guy that you're looking at going, wow, this guy can dunk. This guy can
He
play.
not only could he dunk, when he jumped, he did the foul line dunk, right? But when
I don't
he
know if he did a foul line, but he did some dunks that you definitely stood up and noticed, and you're like,
well,
wait a minute.
he was one of those, he was like Jordan kinda. When he
He
jumped,
was.
he floated. You know
He
what I mean?
did.
Like, he
He did.
just flew. You know what I mean? Like, some sort of
Yeah.
weird thing about it, the way he elevates just
Yeah.
could stay up there forever.
He was a finesse dunker, if you want to call it something to that, but he was also like a point guard where you're like, there's no way this guy can dunk, but he could. He
Right,
didn't look like a guy that could dunk.
right.
He was the white man can't jump, Woody
Yeah, yeah,
Harrelson. That's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
there's
yeah.
no way this guy can dunk, but he could. It was
You're right.
crazy.
Well, he was only six
Um,
eight or whatever. I mean, for heaven's
yeah,
sake, man.
yeah.
So,
Then you got Harold Miner, who was crazy.
I remember that guy.
Yep, Miami Heat. He could do it. Isaiah Ryder.
Well, yeah.
Harold Miner won it again.
Mhm.
Cedric Sabalas
I
was
remember Cedric Sabalas.
power dunker.
Yeah.
Power dunker. You had D Brown with the
Now,
Celtics.
dude, you wanna talk about iconic
Yep.
dunk contests?
Yep.
When he dunked with, the blind dunk with his arm over his eyes,
That's right. Yep.
whoever thought of that before him? Nobody.
Right.
That was, and he was not a big dude.
No, he wasn't.
He
He was a smaller dude.
he
Now
couldn't
we're
have been,
talking
like, 6 feet tall.
1991.
Yeah,
So
he couldn't have been
that
6 feet.
was, and D Brown was quick. He was again, he was point guard. He was a
He started.
shooter
He was a
who
starter
could
for the
dunk.
Celtics, yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Then we're talking probably in my era when I was growing up, one of, besides Michael Jordan, probably one of the most um, memorable dunkers and that I grew up watching. He won it twice, and it was Dominique Wilkinson.
Dude.
And
Oh, it was
it
Dominique
was
Wilkins, right?
Wilkins, I'm sorry, yes,
And
and
he
it
was
was the
all
windmill. It
power.
was
It was
that
all, yeah.
huge windmill dunk that you had, and that you're like, "This is just incredible," and you're like, you always thought he was gonna bring the rim down every time that he
Yeah.
did it.
I'm
Just that
pretty
giant
sure.
sweeping power hanging on the rim, you know?
Now, cool information on Dominique Wilkins. I think he's a Hall of Famer, right?
I'm sure that he
I think
is.
he played for the Hawks. They've never won nothing, and he was a Hall of Fame athlete for the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, I'm sure that he is.
And,
Before that,
he scored a lot of points in the NBA.
yeah,
Lots.
yeah. Kenny Walker
Mhm.
was,
Mhm.
and then, of course, Michael Jordan won it twice
Yeah.
with the free throw line, just
First time
ridiculous dunks.
first time we ever saw that stuff, except for Dr. J.
Bef Before Michael Jordan was, again, 2 Atlanta Hawks won. One was Spud Webb, where the guy's like
Oh,
4 feet
yeah.
tall.
He's 5'7",
Yeah, yeah,
45-inch vertical leap or whatever it
yeah.
was,
Guy,
nonsense.
the smallest guy to win the dunk contest by far. And then Dominique Wilkins won before that again.
Yeah.
And then you're going Larry Nance, you're going Darnell Hillman, and the original started an off all in 1976 is Dr. J.
See, and when you ever watched the replays of the really old dunk stuff that
Yeah,
he used to do?
yeah,
He was a special, like, we will never see a dude like Dr. J again. And
never.
he was his own player. No one played like him. You know what I mean? Like, he just
Yeah,
had this weird, smooth way of playing, and the dude could, of course, he was like, what, 6'8", 6'9", and he could
yeah,
just skyrocket himself. It was just crazy. The
yeah,
amount of air and hang time the dude had. Do you remember in the playoffs, he had it might have been in the finals against the Lakers in the 70s. I just remember him coming baseline, and then he goes up, and then with one hand under the hoop
yeah,
and the
yeah,
other side, and you're thinking there's no way that
yeah.
he just did that. And everybody playing against him they're all just like, "Where'd he go? Oh, it's in the hoop."
Yeah. They're
How did
just
that
in
happen?
awe. Yeah.
Yeah, just how did he do that? And that was him on a nightly basis.
Yeah.
Nightly
The
basis.
guy that reminds me, and I'm not just saying this because I like the Bucks, but Antetokounmpo kind of
Antetokounmpo.
has the same kind of wingspan when he takes those 5 giant steps that he that he takes to the
Right.
basket. I mean, when he takes it, he kind of glides and he does that kind of scoop, a little bit of a scoop and lays it into the bucket.
Right.
Kind of reminds me a little bit of Dr. J because he just has that giant hand and he just has that he just kind of puts it in the bucket a little bit reminiscent of how Dr. J does. And he does a little bit of those scoop shots and he hooks around the basket. And so it just is anybody that I can think of and I look at the past and I see those a little bit he reminds me of that. But
So,
um
I mean, I'm gonna say this right now, just simply because we're talking about the All-Star game weekend,
yeah.
that one, the NBA is already in shambles. Okay.
Oh
I do
it
not even think that it's watchable right now. Like it's
no,
not
it's
even.
horrible.
I think most people who are used to the old NBA, like they grew up like in the 80s, 90s era, kind of like
Yeah.
we did.
Yeah.
We watched basketball in the golden age of basketball, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And we grew up watching college basketball when it was at its peak. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And those guys would then go on to the NBA and become Hall of Famers. And they
Right.
played basically the same way in the NBA that they played in college,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so you'd go in and you'd be lucky to have a 100-point game at that in
Right.
the NBA at the time, right? So now the average is like 130 points,
Yeah,
130
it's
points.
ridiculous.
And so, and we're seeing guys score 80,
Yeah.
75, 80 points in a game.
Yeah.
Now, the only time we ever saw that prior to was Wilt Chamberlain.
Mhm.
Kobe went off one game,
Mhm. Mhm.
scored like 83.
Mhm.
The only other time I remember anyone scoring over 70 was David Robinson in a throwaway game.
Right.
Right? He scored 70
Right.
points in a game that nobody cared about because it wasn't for anything. They were already in the playoffs. It was the last game of the
Right.
season. They just gave him the ball every time down the court and he just dunked it. So he scored 73 points.
Yeah, Jordan never had an 80-point game. Jordan
No,
had 60-point games, but he yeah. Yeah.
but that for me though. I mean, like those we're talking like handfuls of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're talking this season alone. We've had like 3 or 4 guys go over 60.
Yeah, yeah, it's insane. And for that to happen is just astronomical that,
It's
it,
yeah.
it like one guy on the West, for example, Thomas,
Mhm.
from the um, Timberwolves, he had 50 points
Yeah.
for
In
the
the All-Star
West.
game? Yeah.
Yeah, in the All-Star break, he had 50 points.
Yeah. And
I mean, how
Lillard had almost 60, right? Is
no,
that
Lillard
right?
Lillard had 39, 40 maybe.
They gave
But
Lillard the MVP. I don't know what he did that was so much better, but
well, there was probably 5 guys on the East that had 30
well,
some
they scored
points.
200 points.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
scored I'm gonna say that again out loud because it
Yeah.
doesn't sound right, but
211 points.
they scored 211 points
Yeah.
and they won by 30, which means the other team scored 180 points.
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
that's almost 400 points in a basketball game. Do you know how
yeah.
poor the
Yeah.
defense has got to be for that to happen?
I mean,
That oh,
yeah, they took 146 shots
right.
on the East and 143 shots on the West.
Well, how do you accomplish that in a game?
I
You
mean,
got
that's
12
that
we
is
got
unbelievable,
it's 12
right?
minute quarters, right? It's 12-minute quarters.
Yeah.
How do you do that in 12 minutes? And so like what do you
97 three-pointers for the East and 71 three-pointers for the West.
here's how bad it got, St. Joe. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't watch the game. I only watched the highlights, but I was in absolute shock watching the highlights. I'm not even sure why they showed these highlights, but the highlights were of Damian Lillard pulling up from half court
Right.
and making it was a circus.
Yeah.
That's what it
I
was.
mean, what
No one
highlights? I
guarding him,
mean,
of
it's
course. There's
just
no one guarding him, of course.
right.
No one near him.
Right.
He's like, okay, fine. It doesn't matter. So I'm just going to shoot from the NBA, from the half court. Then it was topped off by Luka Doncic during the course of regular play, not at the end of a quarter or at the end of a half,
Mhm.
throwing a ball up from 3/4 court. We're talking almost the free throw line of his own half or of the other is it the other team's half?
Yeah.
Basically from 3/4 court, and he throws it up and it goes off the very top of the backboard, and no one cared.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
are watching them do a shoot around practice
Right.
in the NBA All-Star game, and people go to watch an All-Star game because they wanna see the best players in the world play the best basketball in the world. They don't
Right.
go show up to watch Luka Doncic, sub in for 3 minutes and throw in a three-quarter court ball off the top of the backboard for fun.
Right.
That is
Right.
not basketball,
I mean, it
okay?
was 104 to 89 at halftime.
Right,
Come on.
right.
Come on.
It's making me like just talking about it is making me furious. Okay. Because in the
Well,
90s, when Jordan was playing, or even when he wasn't playing, we had Jordan and Pippen on on the same
yeah.
roster. But even after that, Kobe even said himself, these are words Kobe said. He said, people don't watch the All Star game to see guys go have a shoot around.
Right.
They
Right.
watch the All-Star game to watch the best players in the world play the best basketball they've ever seen. That's why they watch the All-Star game.
Yeah, in the 80s and the 90s, the final score might have been 101, 100-2, and they were giving it their all to
Oh, they were
win the
giving it to
game,
each other.
and they
Absolutely.
were beating the crap out of each other.
Right.
There was
And
1
now
foul. There were
right.
3 fouls during the entire game.
Mhm.
I mean,
In
it's
in the in the NBA All-Star game, there's
yeah,
3 fouls.
3
See, and
fouls.
now I remember watching it like mid-90s thinking, okay, well, every now and again they'd break off and let the guy do a pretty
Sure,
cool dunk, but then they'd go right back
sure,
to it. You know what I mean? Like, okay,
sure.
yeah. Because they wanted to show something off or what let the other guy show off for a minute. But then
Yeah,
they would go right back to playing hard against this was something that my family, we would watch every year.
yeah,
We would sit
yeah.
at the TV scheduled to watch the game
Mhm,
every year.
100%. Yep,
We
yep,
that Saturday night when they did the dunk contest, that was scheduled. We sat down on the couch together with my father
yep,
watching the dunk contest, waiting
yeah.
to see what the next guy would come up with,
No, I
okay?
agree, I
Now
agree.
it is a joke.
Yeah, it's not even and the sad thing is and this is what I see it turning into is so my son's playing basketball, and he goes and I watch the games, and they're down, let's say they're down by 7, 8 points. It turns into a three-point contest because they think they have
They
no
gotta get all mad.
strategy, and they think, "All I can do to get back into the game is I have to shoot three-pointers." And they don't realize that they can drive to the bucket, they can get a two-pointer, they can potentially get fouled and turn it into a three-point play. Nope,
Or
it's
they can get fouled and
all
shoot 2 free throws with no time going off the clock.
exactly,
Right,
but it's not about that. It's all about, "I gotta get the three-point bucket." So they go, and if they don't make it, they can't rebound, then guess what? They just keep taking themselves in a bigger hole.
right.
And
Yep.
they take these 3 giant steps because they see the NBA players doing it, and they're like, oh, what?" And then they get called for traveling, and they're like, "That's not a travel." And I'm like, "Yeah, it
It's a
is."
travel every time. And they just here's the thing is in the high school, they're gonna call it. In
Yep,
college, they're gonna call it. In the
yep,
NBA, they're not going to because they don't care about the rules in the NBA. It
nope,
is a score frenzy. The rules are when they got rid of the hand check,
yeah,
that was the
yep,
end of defense in the NBA. So
yep,
then the scores could be whatever you wanted the scores to be. You could
yep,
literally score 106 some of these games in regular NBA, their teams are scoring 160 points
sure,
because
sure,
there's no way to stop anyone because you can't get in their way, you can't put a hand on them,
right,
you can't there's nothing you can do to play defense. That ruined the game.
yep,
Absolutely ruined it. When they took the hand check out, I think that was like 2011, 2012. Boy, the game really just stopped being good.
yeah.
Stopped
Well, and
being
that's
good.
the other thing too, like, exactly what that was my next thing comment was gonna be is that these fouls and everything that they do is just ridiculous because they come in and they're kids, just let them play.
Right.
And they come in and everything they do is there's a foul, there's a foul, there's a foul. And I'm like, are you kidding me? When
Right.
I would play, I mean,
You'd have to
unless
die.
unless
Yep.
you put the guy on the floor and it was clearly, okay. I mean,
Or
it's
if you
not a
heard
foul.
skin, I suppose if you heard skin, they'd call a foul.
Sure,
Or
sure.
or if you're clearly grabbing the guy, that's a foul. But
Yeah,
now it's like get in the vicinity of the guy,
yeah,
just barely touch him, and it's a
yeah.
foul. And
My
that's
favorite
all.
is they take a shot and they put their foot out and the
Yeah.
foot touches the guy. That's a foul. And I'm like, are you kidding me? That's not a foul. And I'm like, and then they get the body and they do this and they do a lot of different things, and you're like, are you kidding me? It's just not. It's unbelievable that this is a foul. This is a foul. It's just it's so ridiculous. But
I well, and as someone who, when I was watching basketball, it was late 80s, early 90s, mid 90s, late 90s. That was during the Jordan Rules era.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Hack a shack.
you had to get open.
Yeah, yeah,
You weren't just open because someone couldn't guard you, like they couldn't touch you.
yeah.
You had to get open, which means you actually had to do the work without the ball to
Right.
get open. And that means you got to go through guys grabbing you, you got to get through guys checking you as you're running through. You got to get none of that can happen now. That's
Yeah,
all gone. All of it's gone. And especially for the stars. Like especially for guys like Steph
yeah,
Curry, like if there's a guy touching grabbing you, on your way through, they're going to call a foul on that guy.
yeah,
And so you can't look like I said, for me, basketball is in shambles. The
yep,
NBA game. College, on the other hand, because we're coming up on March Madness, college,
yeah.
on the other hand, I've watched a little bit of college basketball, and it's much better to watch.
Yeah, college is fun. College is a good thing right now. College is good. College is doing very well, and yeah, they're playing quite a bit better. They're definitely, um, they're definitely doing quite better in college, and they're letting them play a little bit more. But I mean, it's still some ticky tack fouls that are in there, but
All right, well, let me ask you this. Who do you watch? Other than Wisconsin, who do you watch?
Marquette, who's
Yeah.
doing very well right
Yes,
now.
they're good this year.
Marquette's going to be Marquette's going to be a tough team in the tournament.
Purdue as well.
Purdue, Zach Edey, man. I mean, that kid is tough. That kid, he's going to be a good NBA player. That kid is a tough kid.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm Big Ten partial, but I mean, Marquette. Both my niece and nephew went to Marquette. So it's kind of hard not to follow them and do a couple different things there. But and Wisconsin, growing up in Wisconsin, there's just certain teams that you watch.
So the number one ranked team right now is UConn. Yeah.
Yeah, UConn got a good system right now,
And they won last year going away. It wasn't even close. Right. So
yeah,
I'm giving the edge right now, unless something weird happens or changes. There are some teams who can play with UConn,
sure,
of course, but it just depends on if they meet them in the tournament or not. Right.
right.
So if they don't end up meeting those teams in the tournament, I think they're going to just walk through the tournament.
You think UConn's going to repeat?
I think I'm not saying they're going to. I see the potential because
Yeah,
they're only missing one player from last year's team.
yeah. They had a roster come back, which is great. But
Right. So I think what you're saying, and that is actually the beauty of college sports right now.
right,
It's because those players, because they're able to earn money off NIL, they're staying for more than one.
so you're right in certain sports. So
Right.
football is drastically different than it is in basketball, and I think that and we could do a whole different podcast on that, because the money that you make in football versus the money you
It's
make
higher.
in
Yeah,
basketball
absolutely.
coming out is completely different. So they're almost beneficial for you to come back in basketball and take the NIL, because you're going to make more money versus that. So
Yeah, and then the odds of getting drafted in the NBA, because there's only like
100%.
2 or 3 rounds. I think there's only 2 rounds in the NBA.
Yeah, but you can go undrafted, or you can go to the overseas leagues and you can make some money and you can do a couple different things that way. But I think
Not
that's
like you would
why.
here in
Uh,
college, though, probably.
no, no. But
Right.
let's take Zach Eady for as a great example. He could have come out last year, and
Yeah.
he probably could have been a top draft choice, but he chose to come back. Um, I think it was probably a good decision for him to come back.
Yeah,
He's
he's the best
proven.
player in the country now. I
Yeah.
mean, right now.
Yep.
I mean, can you think of their team without him?
No, and
Right.
he only increased the value of his draft position by coming back.
Yeah.
So
So,
I think that he did himself a favor by coming back. It'd
yeah.
be interesting to see the analysts say last year he would have gone top 10. This year he's going top 5, if not maybe the number. Who knows? But
Just depends on the
it would
team.
be interesting to see their take on that. But
So, there's a couple Big 12 teams that probably deserve a mention when it comes to the tournament. Um, Baylor plays really good defense,
yep,
and
yep,
Kansas is hitting their stride,
yep,
and Houston is looking really good.
yeah,
Really,
yeah.
and then you have your Iowa States, who are that team is always good come tournament time, and right now they're really good. I mean, they have a good record right now.
Yeah, there's
So,
tournament teams,
yes, and
definitely
they're kind of built
tournament
that way.
teams, and that's the ones that you got to look out for, like Kentucky. Let's take Kentucky for example. Kentucky is definitely a tournament team. I don't know this year if they're necessarily going to be a tournament team. Um, they haven't been the last couple of years.
Yeah.
They've kind of bounced out early. This year may be a little bit different. I think that they're a pretty solid squad.
Yep.
Um,
Mhm.
but Calipari, though, I don't know. He This team is a little bit different. You got to look at Wisconsin. Wisconsin was doing really well there for a while. They were up there. I think they were up to 11. Now they're out of the top 20.
Yep.
But
Yep. So, you wanna hear some okay, so I think judging by what I'm seeing on the statistics, let me check the SEC really quick again. But what I'm seeing is there's some couple really strong conferences. One of them is the Big 12. The other one is the Southeastern Conference, I
yep,
think. Yep, they have
yep,
4 or 5 good teams, 5, 6 good teams. Okay, so ooh, might the SEC might be the best conference in college basketball. So your top, wow, 7 teams. Okay. They are all ninth. The worst record is 18-7, and that's Florida. So you have Ole Miss 19-6, Florida 18-7, Kentucky 18-7, Auburn 20-6, South Carolina 21-5, Tennessee 19-6, and Alabama, who's 10-2 in conference and 18-7 overall. That's their top 7. That is scary, scary conference.
yeah,
Um, the pack or the Big 12. Let me see if I can find them real quick. Here we go. The Big 12. Here are your, and they look the same. They look the same. Okay, so your number 7 in the Big 12 is BYU at 18-7, Texas Tech at 18-7, TCU at 18-7. Then you have Kansas 20-6, Baylor 19-6, Iowa State 20-6, and then Houston at 23-3 overall.
yeah.
Um,
Houston number 2. I mean,
yeah,
your top 10, man. Anybody out of the top 10 could win it. I mean, literally.
I mean that is I mean those two conferences combined for the top 15 spots. Then you add the Big East and the Big 10, and oh my gosh, this year's going to be insane.
Yeah, and you
Anybody
got
can win it.
you got Duke, Kansas, and UNC right there at 8, 9, and 10 ranked.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, golly.
yeah.
I mean, the rankings and the it's
Not a
gonna
great year for
be
the ACC. Not a great
no.
year. Their top three
ACC,
teams are Virginia, Duke, and UNC, and they're all good, all of them. They all have 20 wins. So I mean, they're all three going to be top 5 seeds. Okay. Whoever wins the ACC will be a number 1 seed, I assume, right?
yeah.
Probably. Whoever wins The Big 12 tournament will probably be a number 1 seed. My guess is it'll be Kansas or Baylor or Houston. I guess Houston's in the Big 12 now. I would guess that Purdue will be a number 1 seed and UConn will be a number 1 seed. And there's your 4-1 seeds. But I think you're right. I think anybody could win March Madness this year. I think anyone could win that tournament this year. Up for
I think
grabs.
this is a yeah. You got
I just think it's odd that you see the NBA so poor in their product, and I actually see college basketball becoming really good again. That's what I'm seeing. Like it's really starting to be worth the watch. College basketball is, whereas the NBA is just crap. And so that's kind of where we're headed when it comes to basketball in general, which is sad. I mean, like it's sad because it used to be a sport I think everybody watched, right? I think it was one of the more maybe if not the most popular sport for a while, especially when Michael Jordan was around. To where it is
100%.
today has become just nobody watches it. I mean,
Yeah.
have you talked to anybody who watches the NBA religiously?
No.
Right. So that's kind of that's what the NBA has turned into. Kind of shocking. Kind of shocking. Do you have any more that you want to add to that discussion?
No, I'm looking. I'm going through the conferences like you kind of went through, and I'm like,
I did not look at the Pac-12. I'm sure UCLA is probably good. I haven't followed the Pac-12 at all this year. I have it up real quick. So hold on.
yeah. There's not. I'm just looking to see if there's anybody that's really going to
Oh wow.
stand out or be like who's going to be the sleeper.
Arizona
And
and Washington State are both 20. They both have 20 wins.
yeah, I don't see anybody that's really going to just jump out and be like, okay, this is going to be the one that's like,
Yeah.
Arizona, Washington State. You got
Utah
Oregon at 17 and
Utah
8.
State has a good team.
Colgate is 20 and 8 in the Patriot League, but they're probably not even going to make the tournament.
Samford is 23 and 4.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at that too, and I'm going, they might make the tournament.
They could win it. They could win a game.
Yeah, they could get in there, and they could. I mean, you got Indiana State is 22 and 5.
Well,
you got
so
Detroit.
Gonzaga. Okay, so Gonzaga, San Francisco, and St. Mary's. They're all in the same conference. Okay,
Right,
and they're all 20 wins or more. So
right.
there's some sleepers. I mean, Gonzaga's a sleeper this year because they just aren't. Nobody's giving them a chance, right? So there's a sleeper right there. They're going to be in the Sweet 16. They always are, right? So your sleeper might be St. Mary's or San Francisco. I mean, if they're beating Gonzaga,
you got Charleston.
Yep,
Charleston is 20 and 7.
Yep, they're always a team that shows up to play.
Your UC Irvine.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple that are going to be High Point.
Look, these guys are all getting in the tournament. The teams that you're naming, they're all getting in the tournament.
They're going to be.
No one's talking about them because they don't.
Right.
No one's talking about them because they don't play anybody, but they are good basketball teams. Okay.
Right.
They always are, and they always make some sort of noise. Okay. They always make some sort of noise in the tournament. Okay.
Yeah.
Always look out for Mid-American Conference teams too. Every now and again, Miami of Ohio will win a game.
Right. Exactly.
Ohio won a game, and Kent State might win a game. Right now it's Akron. Ivy League always has one team that makes some racket.
Cornell is the one in Ivy League I saw, which you're like, what, whatever. But yeah.
Right.
So it'll be interesting.
USA, they don't look as good this year.
Nah, it'll be interesting to see. But I mean, we're only about a couple weeks away from March Madness, which I love that time. I'll be just sitting here.
Yeah, the conference tournaments are going to start.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have at the end of March, we're going to have the tournament itself, right? So we're knocking down the door. So I'd like to transition to another discussion.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I want to know what in the world the Chicago Bears are going to do with Justin Fields.
Oh, I knew this was going to come up. So I just saw a I just saw a amazing possibility today, which I didn't even think could happen. Um, so a couple things. The Vegas odds right now have Justin Fields going to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has been a hot topic for a lot of people right now. Kirk Cousins is on the watch for Pittsburgh, which could be a good spot for him.
Interesting.
Um, you
That'd be
know,
a great place for him. I mean,
yeah,
that whole team would be transformed.
I would want Kirk Cousins over Justin Fields in Pittsburgh any day. Um, but
I don't know. I don't
Pittsburgh,
know, man. I think
um,
Justin Fields is better than what everybody
I
gives him.
I think Justin Fields is a fantastic quarterback. I think the offensive coordinator is the problem, not Justin Fields.
Right.
But and think of and if if he stays, this will be the second consecutive year with his same offensive coordinator. He's learned three separate offensive coordinators in 4 years, or maybe 3 years.
I think if
But
it's me, if I'm Justin Fields, I go into that office and I say, trade me.
yeah,
Just
he
trade me.
unfollowed the Chicago Bears on Instagram, and that's a big news. And I'm like, whatever. I'm like, okay. But
Okay.
the trade that I saw today was a potential was the New York Giants trading up to number one. They would get the number one draft choice. They would give up their number one slot, which is I think number 8. Um, the number two draft choice, their number one for 2025, their number two for 2025, and a player. And I'm like, if I'm the Bears, I'm jumping
I'm taking
all
that.
over that.
Absolutely
You're
taking
getting
that.
4 draft choices and a player.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
taking that. Yeah,
I'd take
absolutely.
4 Justin Fields.
That's why would they
I'm
want
sorry
Justin Fields though?
for the number. They would keep
Oh,
Justin Fields in that
okay.
scenario, and then they would trade the number one, and then the Giants would take Caleb
And then you
Williams.
build around him. Right. Then you build
But the
around.
Bears would then have the number 8 and the number 9 pick.
Yeah, they could finally do
So
something.
you would get back-to-back picks.
Yeah.
I'd be all over that if I was the Bears.
Yeah.
If
If
I
that
was
I mean, if
them,
that's even a real thing, right? Because
yes.
you read these news reports, you're like, is that real or is
Now
that
that was something floating around. I'm like, okay. Now if they're trading Fields
I
to
think
Pittsburgh, I don't know what they're getting for him. Are they getting a second round choice? What are they getting in return for Fields? I
well,
don't know.
here's my question is what the heck are the Falcons doing? I thought they
Well,
were going to be in for Fields. And
that
there's
was
no
another.
noise.
Yeah, that was another one that where he could potentially go. I think that's the number 2 team where he could end up with. But Pittsburgh right now seems, which if I'm Mitch Trubisky, I'm pissed because Mitch Trubisky
Came from
got
Chicago.
traded to
Yeah.
out of Chicago because he's like, okay, Justin Fields took my job over there. Now they're trading him over to Pittsburgh, and he's going to take my job potentially over here because Kenny Pickett and Mitch. I'd
Well,
be
you know
pissed.
what I say about sports, professional sports especially? You don't get the option to be pissed that some guy takes your job. Do you know why? That means you should be better. If you want the job, earn the job. It's not like one of those things like they're going to throw somebody in there just because he's got a big name.
Yeah,
If he's not good
yeah.
enough to play, if you're not good enough to play, then you're not good enough to play.
Well,
That's
hell,
just how it is.
you know what they should do is they should give Fields to Pittsburgh, and then Allen Robinson is going to be a cap cut from Pittsburgh, and Trubisky, who knows what they're going to do? So give them Fields and give the Bears back Allen Robinson and Mitch Trubisky
At least you have a
and
backup
something else.
quarterback, I guess. I mean, like, right?
Who cares? Give them. I mean, they were on the Bears at one time or another anyway and did pretty well, but I don't know. It's just
You
I
still
I
think you still think
I
Caleb Williams is going first?
I think Caleb Williams is the biggest bust in the draft
Okay.
o- of
So I'm
all.
gonna,
I
you know what I'm
think
getting ready to
he is.
ask you, right?
What's that?
What's your reasoning
I
for that?
just think I think from he started off being. I don't think that he's probably not a good player. I think that he has some mental problems wrong with him because you saw that how he busted down. He's crying on the sideline. He can't. I think that he can't handle the pressure that's going to come with
Yeah.
the NFL. And he wants to be a part ownership in the team, and he wants this, and he I think that when he gets down to see it, that he's
It's
going to
not
be
all.
like a Ryan Leaf type quarterback.
Okay, so yeah, on the flip side of that coin, I think he's either a bust. He's not a middle of the road guy, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Right? He's either gonna be really good or he's gonna suck. And
So
so, like,
yeah,
I've watched him play in person
yeah,
just because his first year was he played for my favorite team in college,
yeah.
but I got to
Oh,
see
he
him in
did. He came
person.
out. He came out of Oklahoma.
Yeah, so he played
Oh,
his first season at Oklahoma, and he took the starting job from an upperclassman,
okay,
and we actually watched him go and win some games on his own, like, willing the team to victory.
okay,
So after seeing that, and he went over to USC for the money, and he
sure,
followed the coach, right? He followed Lincoln Riley over to USC.
sure.
So he wins the Heisman, right? As he's was the best player in college football. They go 11-2 or something. I don't remember what they went.
Right,
But they were a pretty good football team that first year.
right.
This year they weren't as good, and then he had his weird issues, like you were
Mm-hmm.
saying, like,
Mm-hmm.
and then he didn't play in the bowl game, but he went to the game.
Right,
Like, shocking, right? I mean, like, who doesn't play in the game but shows up to root his team on? That's
right,
the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Okay, but so those flags do come up.
right,
But I will say this, I watched him play, and when you watched him play, at least at Oklahoma, he was going to go win you the game.
right.
Like, if you had put the ball in his hand, he did like we saw weird things. Like, he'd run up to block for a running back, and like against Kansas. Kansas was giving us a hard time at Kansas. And we needed a first down, and the running back was getting tackled for a first down, but he was right there by the running back, and he took the ball out of the running back's hand, like, pulled it out of his hands as hard as he could and ran for a first down.
Hmm.
Nobody expected it. Just weird things. Like, he would just, for whatever reason, would just had this weird genius football mind to do it. So if he brings that to the NFL, I think he could be really good. Now, as you said, for the other reasons, he could also be a big bust.
Yeah, I think
So,
he's going to be a bigger head case than he's going to be. If he proves everybody wrong, good for him.
but I
But
don't think I don't think like he's a backup quarterback in the NFL. I
no,
don't think like he's just your middle of the road type of guy. He's either going to be electric or he's going to be a nobody.
right,
It's not going to be like, oh, I'm a NFL vet quarterback who's been in the league for 15 years, just like a Matt Schaub kind of guy. You know what I
right,
mean?
right,
Where I can throw for 4,000 yards and nobody knows it. He's not going to be that guy.
right. But on the flip side too, I do think that he could be the kind of quarterback like I'll use like Philip Rivers, for example, because Rivers was a feisty kind of
Yeah,
guy. He was that guy in your face guy, which is great, and you want that in a quarterback, which is I'll take Philip Rivers all day long. But I think he's kind of a Philip Rivers kind of attitude, but that will take you to where he's going to do whatever he can. Where if he wants to take the ball out and run down the field, he's going to do that, which is then going to get him hurt. So
yeah,
he's going to do it where he's going to run into a brick wall, and that's going to make him a liability. Do I want that in my quarterback to say, okay, because he's just going to go, 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 and then it's going to get hurt, and
yeah.
then that's going to cause even more problems. So I want that attitude, yes, but do I want it that much that it's going to put him in harm's way to me? I don't know. I don't know if I want that.
Right.
Um, if he was
Well,
built like Ben Roethlisberger and he was something like, sure, maybe he could
yeah,
do it. But everybody thought Anthony Richardson was going to be great and everything like that. And look, where was he? He got hurt all the time.
yeah.
So uh, I just think I don't think he's going to be as good of a quarterback as everybody thinks he's going to be. I would take Drake. I would take,
Drake May
yep.
Why?
I would take him. I just think he's more. Oh, this is going to come back to haunt me. But I think he's probably a better management quarterback. I think he's probably a safer bet. I think he's probably like Penix
Oh yeah,
or maybe Bo Nix. I mean, I think I would probably take maybe even Jaden Daniels.
yeah.
Um,
I'll be perfectly honest about Penix. I don't think he's an NFL style quarterback. Like I don't think that he will survive the NFL. I just think he's too fragile.
yeah,
Um, and I don't think that the Jaden Daniels from LSU is an accurate enough passer.
but they can work on him. They
Yeah,
can work on him.
but his release point is kind of like Tim Tebow's. He doesn't have the same arm motion. I'm not saying that. I'm saying he releases the ball really low. If you've ever watched him
Yeah.
play, and there's only been one guy that I've watched that has that type of release point that was successful, and that was Philip Rivers.
Well, Phillips Rivers had a pretty good
Yeah.
career. So
But Philip Rivers was a very accurate quarterback in
yeah,
college.
yeah.
Okay. And Jaden
I
Daniels
mean,
was a running quarterback. And
yeah.
I don't think he's really that great of a passer. That said, who knows? I could be completely wrong. But what I do see is I don't think Michael Penix, I just don't see him being a highly successful
Yeah.
NFL quarterback. The other guys you mentioned, it's kind of a toss up. Jaden Daniels, he's your Heisman winning
Yep.
quarterback, so he's
Yep.
going to get drafted.
Sure.
But is he going to be good at in the NFL level? I don't know, because the NFL is just so much faster.
Yeah.
I mean, if you
Yeah.
leave the pocket and you're a quarterback,
Yeah.
oh, God help you.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
where Bo Nix, I think Bo Nix plays in Oregon, and Oregon plays a fast
yeah,
team. So maybe, maybe. And
yeah,
then Drake Mays. Um,
he's
if
more
the
of a pocket
Bears
passer.
if the Bears drafted another North Carolina guy, I mean that was Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah,
Boy, they would hang him if they didn't do he didn't do well.
right. Oh, it'd be.
But I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. But
All
there's a
right. Well,
lot of quarterbacks.
I have a spicy NFL statistic for you.
Oh,
So I have a game. We're going to play a game called Name This Player.
okay.
This player earned the Bart Starr Award in 2015. The award is named after former Packers quarterback Bart Starr,
Sure.
whose Rawhide Boys Ranch has been helping troubled youth since 1965. The year Starr led the Packers to the first 3 consecutive NFL championships. Starr is a reminder of the generosity displayed by many former NFL stars, but who is the most generous current player? This player has been generous with his money and his time, recently raising $50,000 on Celebrity Jeopardy to fight childhood cancer. He was also named as a finalist in the 2014 Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, along with the 49ers wide receiver Anquan Bolden. Oh, I didn't know that one. Finishing behind Panthers linebacker Thomas Davis.
Um.
Name that quarterback.
Oh, it was a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
It was stupid Aaron Rodgers
It's Aaron Rodgers. Somebody
because
sent me that photo.
He was on Jeopardy.
Someone sent me that info. I was like, I gotta give it to St. Joe just for
Yep.
fun.
Yep.
Because he's always like, you know what? Aaron Rodgers this, Aaron Rodgers that. And I'm like, I am also not a fan of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
But
I guarantee you that $50,000 didn't go to Green Bay and went to Chico.
it was raised for that ranch that Bart Starr created.
Oh, for Rawhide. Okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't
I think
surprise
that was probably, standard operating
Yeah.
procedure.
Yeah.
But
That doesn't
anyway,
surprise me that he would raise something for Bart Starr. That
yeah.
I'll give him that.
Yeah. So you have any drama this week?
You know, I don't really have any drama this week. Nothing I can really think of.
I have a little sports drama.
Oh, perfect.
Okay. It'll only be interesting for people who care about the new college football playoff system.
Okay.
It has come to light that in the new college playoff, They will put the 4 highest ranked conference championships as seeds 1 through 4. That means that even if Notre Dame is the number 1 ranked team in the country, they would get the number 5 seed, requiring them to win 4 straight games to win a title.
Wait, so is this voted on by? So this is not voted by on anybody. This is the top.
These are the new
4.
rules. These are the new rules. The new rules are the college football playoff will put the 4 highest ranked conference champions as seeds 1 through 4. So if you have a conference champion from, like, say, the Mountain West, say Boise State goes undefeated and wins the Mountain West,
Okay.
and they are ranked number 4, they will be number 4 ahead of a number 1 ranked Notre Dame because they don't have a conference title.
They'll be the number 1 seed.
They'll be the number. So, like, so obviously you have the SEC winner who's going to be your number 1 seed overall, probably. Then you have your Big 12. I mean, you have your top 4 ranked conference title winners. So your conference champions, who are the highest 4 ranked, doesn't matter the conference, will be your top 4 seeds. Okay, so if you win the Pac, or if you win the Big 10, right?
So in that case, so let's just use last year as example.
Right.
Who was the one that Liberty?
Yes.
So Liberty. So it would have been Michigan, Washington. Well, there were 5. There were undefeated.
It would have been
teams,
Florida
right?
State, right?
Florida State and Liberty.
Yes.
Right? Is that right?
Well, so it's like your highest ranked,
Because those were undefeated
conference,
teams, right?
right? But they were your highest ranked conference champions.
Well, they were all conference champions.
Right.
So that's how
yes.
it would have been. So it
So
would have been
Liberty
big,
is ranked in the top 15 with their terrible schedule,
right?
and they win their conference title. Okay. And they're
Yeah.
the top ranked conference team to win their title, and they're undefeated, then they would
Yep.
be one of the top 4 seeds. And they would have to play one less game. But your teams like, say, Alabama this year, right? They lose their
Wow.
conference champion game. They have to play 4 games. They have to win 4 games straight in order to win the national title. Whereas your top, see how this is controversial? Okay. So if like a dude,
You
like
only
a
had to
team,
win 2. You only had
Right.
to win 2 before.
right? So a team like Notre Dame, no conference, right? So if
Oh, I see what you're saying, because Notre Dame doesn't belong to.
yes, they could be the number 1 team in the country. But because of the way the rules are written, they would have to be the number 5 seed in the college football playoff.
Well, that's well, shame on them then, because they
For
don't
not being
belong
part of
to
a
a
conference.
conference.
Yeah.
Right. So this is where the Mountain Conference.
West, the
There's
Mountain West
2
Conference,
teams.
yeah.
There's 2
You mean the
teams.
Pac-12? You mean the Pac-12 conference?
The Pac-12.
Yeah.
So there's 2 teams. So one of those teams
Yeah.
is automatically the number 1 seed.
Well, it's going to be weird. Okay. I'm going to guess the Pac-12 is not even going to exist, right?
Well,
Those 2 teams will
next
end up having to go
year,
somewhere, right?
next year there's 2 teams in the Pac-12.
Right.
So
But aren't they being required to join another conference? Didn't
I
the
don't
conference
know.
dissolve, didn't it?
Well, that's an interesting point, because technically, did it? If there's still Pac-12 teams, there automatically one of those teams is a number 1 seed.
Yeah, I mean, so no, the Pac-12 is dissolving, at least
Okay.
in football.
Okay.
Okay.
So you're going to have a big. So let's just look at this. You're going to have a. Well, you don't know. You would have a Big 10. You should have an SEC. You should have a
Right.
Pac-12.
I'm just saying, like, if it's your top 4 ranked conference winning opponent or teams, right? So say you
Yeah.
have a random conference, like so say the Big Ten has a weird year, right? Where maybe you have a Wisconsin who's like not really ranked very high, right? You know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah.
ranked number 10 and
Yeah.
they're 10-2,
Yeah.
weirdly. And they're playing the number 1 Ohio State Buckeyes. And then they
Right.
beat the Buckeyes, right?
Right.
So then they're going to the playoff as like a number, they're going to be a 4 seed, but they're 10 because they're the top. I mean, they're a ranked conference opponent, right? Or a ranked conference champion.
Right.
But there could be another team like Liberty who's undefeated and wins their conference and could be the number 9 team. You see what's getting ready to happen? You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
And so it's going to be the Wild West for a
But
minute.
could they knock somebody out?
Oh yeah. I mean, they'll knock someone out of the top 4. They're definitely knocking someone out of the top, what is it, the top 12, right?
Yeah.
So
But could they not?
your top 4 best positioned teams will be
So
your highest ranked
that's
4
where the
conference champions.
controversy comes in, because
Mhm.
they're gonna automatically come to be the number 4,
Right.
numbers whatever. So they're automatically gonna come in to be the number 4, knocking down everybody else. So you're gonna have a bubble.
Oh, it's going to be extreme.
So you're gonna have that
Something weird's going to
bubble.
happen because of this rule. I guarantee something weird's going to happen because of this rule.
So now you're almost like March Madness, where you have that bubble and you're
Right.
like, this team is now on the bubble.
Right.
Ooh, that makes it very interesting.
Which in college football is weird because we watched what happened with a team like Liberty, in the bowl season, right?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
watched what happened. They showed up to their playoff game with all their players and they just got throttled by whoever they played. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a wreck, but this is going to be, like I said, the Wild West.
Well, then the other question comes is, what games do they make these
They're going to be
these
bowl games,
games?
right? They're going to end up being bowl games, right?
Yeah, but what bowl games do they make them?
They'll be like New Year's Six bowls, right?
Right,
But those
the
will be like
the 6 bowls or whatever. But
those will be like your last few games will be those New Year's Six bowls, and then kind of your like the Holiday Bowl. You know how that's kind of a big bowl, but it's not like
the
a gigantic.
pinstripe bowl or the whatever.
Right.
Yeah,
Those games will be gobbled up by those kind of exterior playoff games. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So, your top 12 bowl games will be eaten up, or your top, well, there's going to be more than that. There's going to be more
yeah,
games than 12. So
yeah,
those top, whatever, 16, 20 bowl games, they're all going to get eaten up by the playoff. All of them. Don't you think?
yeah, yeah. So those bowl games just became, advertising wise, became a lot more important. So
Well,
now
and
your tax slayer bowl, for example,
or the
here
Gator Bowl.
in Jacksonville,
That
the
Gator
tax
Bowl.
slayer bowl just became a lot more important.
Well, and also the question then becomes is if you've got teams playing in multiple bowl games. Now the first playoff round is going to be played at someone's home, right? Whoever the higher seed it's a home game.
You don't think it's a bowl game? You think it's
I don't
an
think it's a bowl
extra?
game. I
You
think
think
a
there's going to be
certain
one more
round,
round prior
yeah,
to the bowl game?
because that round will have to be played at the beginning of December, and that's before bowl season,
Gotcha,
right? So that
gotcha.
first round, maybe the first 2 rounds even, will be before bowl season, and then those last couple rounds will be bowl games.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's probably right. And then that way, because there's usually a lag before bowls. There's like
But that will
a
make those
month.
bowl games much more relevant,
Ooh,
and you won't
those
have those kids leaving the games early or
no, you
not,
won't.
they won't be transferring out or they won't be, you know, uh, going to the draft. They'll be playing because 'cause they'll be in the playoff. See, and that's why I think the playoff itself should be expanded kinda like the Division, 2 playoff system, if you've
No,
ever
you're
seen that.
right.
I think there's like
You won't
16
have that.
teams in that.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
not going to have that big lag time in between there. You're actually going to have you're going to be doing something with that. So that's cool. I like if that's the case, I like that.
I think what's cool about that is those teams that are coming on at the end of the season that might be some of your best teams in the country that took all year to get there. You know what I'm saying? Like they might have
Like
started
Alabama last
crappy.
year.
Yeah, they might have started crappy,
Yep.
but then as they went, they got so much better.
Yeah.
That's going to allow those teams to succeed.
Yeah.
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 And so for me, I think that's why I like the playoff system is it lets those teams kind of find their feet. They're young, maybe they're not used to playing, and then all of a sudden they're getting better as the season goes,
Yeah.
and they make their way into the playoff, and you could see like a 10 seed, like a team that's kind of on the outside looking in,
Yeah.
barely makes the playoff, and they could
Yeah.
make a huge racket.
Well,
You know what I
look at
mean?
how it worked for Kansas City. Kansas City came as a 5 seed and won the Super Bowl. So I
Right.
mean,
Well,
look at how it worked with them.
the last Packers Super Bowl, they were 8-8
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
they entered the playoffs,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
they won the Super Bowl. They just got on a run.
Yep.
And I think at that moment in time, college is not the same, granted, but if you get a college team that's on
Yeah,
a
no,
run,
I agree 100%. You could get that momentum and just keep going. That
just
could
keep going.
be and
Like a freight
then
train.
again, it's almost like it's going to work a lot like March Madness. You could catch that wave and just be like, okay, here we go.
Oh yeah, predictions next year will be fun.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it. I really am.
That'd be good. That could be good. It could be a
So
lot of fun.
you and me and the Kev, we have got to get. I'm looking forward to brackets this year.
What? So maybe next week.
Yeah. Well, so we won't know the brackets until the conference tournaments are over.
Probably 2 weeks, probably 2
Right.
weeks.
So when that happens, but I'm looking we should probably bring some of our unfiltered peeps into this, don't you think?
Yeah, maybe we
Maybe we
we
could have an
can see if
unfiltered
we want to
sports
have
or
we can definitely have an unfiltered studios pool and
all right.
then see if we want to do that. But yeah, maybe we have a March Madness show and see if people want to do a round robin and have a pick'em night
Yeah.
on
So
the
I mean
Sports
that
Weekly. That would be
either
fun.
way, we could definitely start a ESPN tournament challenge game with
Well,
all of our unfiltered studios peep.
God, we got 19 podcasts in the studio
We
now.
got
I'm
like
pretty
50
sure
people
we
in that.
could fill one up.
Yeah.
We could do something now. So
Well, that's all, not everybody in the studio is interested in sports,
of
right?
course, but I
So,
mean, there's quite a few that I think would be interested in it. So
all right.
yeah,
Well, hey, if you don't have anything more, you got anything more?
no, I don't have. We can't do a stupid sport because that's Kev's deal. So
Yeah, that was kind of a last minute. Kev, we hope you feel better, man.
yeah, we do get
Look
better.
forward to having you back. Somehow we talked for an hour and 12 minutes, even without him.
It's okay. I mean, we got on a roll with a couple good things, so it's all right.
Well, if there's
Yeah.
nothing else,
No, nope.
all right,
Just
well,
go visit Ancient City. Ancient
oh,
City Designs. That's all right.
I
You can add
I
the
actually have a soundbite we can add. So
yeah, you can add that in here at the end, and
no,
then
I actually have a recording I can send to
yeah,
the Kev.
yeah,
So
it'll be good.
and he can add it. So well, I guess there's nothing else for St. Joe. I'm the Beebs, and we're gonna catch you on the flippity flop.